Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Dragon Ball Nation. Today I'm giving you guys another video discussion, and today I'm going to be talking about how strong do you need to be to become a Super Saiyan in the Dragon Ball series. And spoiler alert, you need to be stronger than this guy. Yes, that guy. But not as strong as some of you may think. Now, this seems a lot more complex of a question than it actually is. It's something I've thought about for a little while now, and obviously we know that Saiyans like Vegeta took a little bit longer than Goku did to achieve this form. Vegeta was the type of person that kept saying, this is what I deserve, you know, this is my goal, my right as a Saiyan Prince to achieve his form, and that's not really the way to go about it. The way Vegeta achieved his form is interesting. Vegeta went on about how he went through the most rigorous training and put himself through a ton of crap to get this form unlocked and just realized his limits. But in a general sense, that's not really, I guess, how the form's achieved. It is more of that need and not really the selfish desire, although it seems like if you have enough power, you can get it through the desire and through the training. But it's all a little bit up in the air still. But that's not really what this is about. What's the bare minimum you need to be to become a Super Saiyan? That's a very tricky question. We know Goku at the power level of a 3 million against Frieza on Namek was able to transform into a Super Saiyan, bringing his power up 50 times to 150 million. But who's weaker than that that's transformed? Well, some of you know this, some of you might not, but the anime special for the history of Trunks has a manga counterpart that came first, and it is a bit different in some ways. Reason number one is that Future Gohan only has one arm the whole way through the chapter, and Trunks is already a Super Saiyan. In the anime special, he goes Super Saiyan at the end after seeing Gohan dead from the androids, but in the manga chapter, he was already a Super Saiyan and training with Gohan, who was in his base form, and Trunks was not keeping up very well. Now, this is very important because obviously the manga is the primary canon. Now, I understand that the anime special, what's interesting about that now, even though that is taken as non-canon, the anime special is what has been used very recently in Dragon Ball Super with flashbacks and how they've been presenting Trunks' story. It seems that they are going off of the anime adaptation. In Dragon Ball Super, they did a flashback for future Trunks and showed off a redrawn version of the moments where Trunks sees Gohan dead and goes Super Saiyan for the first time. So you can almost look at both as canon now, but the fact remains that the manga is still very much canon. It's a Toriyama work. So let's look at this. How strong would Trunks have been? He's a Super Saiyan, but he can't even keep up with Gohan in his base form with one arm. Well, we know from the manga chapter that Android 17 says that he was only using about 50% of his power against Gohan in their fights up until now, which was the last fight until his death, of course. And many people speculate that Gohan was probably around maybe Goku on Namek level, so he had a power level of like 160, 170 maybe million. And I know power levels are BS to some people, but I'm just giving numbers as a basis here. There's important times to use them, and I think this is one of them. So Gohan's base form would be somewhere in the realm of 3 to maybe 3.5 million. Respectable, but think about this. For Trunks as a Super Saiyan, to not be able to keep up with someone of a power level of that amount, you have to imagine how weak his base form actually is. Now, if we do some numbers here, I know numbers in Dragon Ball don't always mix, but let's do this for fun. Let's say that Gohan is a 3.5 million or 3 million in his base form, okay, against Trunks. Let's say that Trunks' Super Saiyan is a 3 million, which I think is a little bit high given Gohan's base form, but we'll roll with it. Let's divide that by 50 to reduce the boost Super Saiyan would give him. Yes, I understand the 50 times multiplier is something that not everyone agrees with, but it is that core number that we have and that a lot of people follow. This would put Trunks' base form, at least mathematically, at a 60,000. Now, hell, the multiplier could be off, obviously. There could be a difference in his Super Saiyan multiplier, but just to give you a general feel of how weak Trunks probably was in his base in the manga chapter. The anime is a different story that's pretty hard to calculate. So how did he get Super Saiyan? Well, I mean, even Goten and Trunks in the manga and anime for the Buu Saga, they got it relatively early in their age, obviously, so I don't think it's completely unrealistic that future Trunks would have as well. Obviously, there's different lifestyles going on there with the two different Trunks versions, but you get my point. And even think about it, the original legendary Super Saiyan, which some people will say is Bardock, I'll talk about that in a second. You gotta think, the original Super Saiyan that was the one of the legend couldn't have been that strong. Really, Saiyans are not very powerful beings before people like Goku came along and was doing massive training, you know, Vegeta. It was a warrior race, but they weren't very powerful relative to what we have now, or even up in the Namek Saga, really. So it begs the question, how strong was the original Super Saiyan? We don't know, but he couldn't have been that strong. Now, on the topic of Bardock, if that's who you think the legendary Super Saiyan is, hey, I did a whole video dissecting how strong a Super Saiyan Bardock. You can check that out here. Click that video, open it in a new tab, and give me your thoughts on that. But just know that I even deducted his power as not that strong. But I don't think Bardock was the original Super Saiyan, but some people do, and if that's your case, that video is for you. One thing that's interesting and you have to remember is that Super Saiyan is something that's built into every Saiyan, essentially. Just like the Great Ape or Ozaru form, it's not really something that, for Great Ape, it's more of a trigger. It's not a power that you need to reach. It's triggered by something, and maybe Super Saiyan can be looked in a similar light as that. There's a lot of speculation with it, but those are my thoughts on it. There's obviously a little more to Super Saiyan than going Ozaru, but I think that it is built into every Saiyan, unlike Super Saiyan 2 and 3, which are basically level ups of Super Saiyan 1. They're just ascended forms of it in a way. Super Saiyan 1 is something that is more achievable than those other forms, but there are obviously special requirements you would want to meet. But is there a power requirement for Super Saiyan? I think there is, but it's just not as high as some people think. What is the bare minimum? Clearly, that's pretty difficult to answer, but it does not seem very high. Again, Trunks may have been like a 60,000. I think if you're in the power level of 100,000 or more, which is still pretty high for one of those older Saiyan characters, and I know Dragon Ball is extremely inconsistent of a series, and this is my own headcanon here, but I'm giving you my thoughts, and I don't think you need a very high power level, but 100,000 or more, you might be there. So those are my thoughts, guys. Give me your thoughts down below. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, maybe share it around if you want. But other than that, guys, share your thoughts down below. If you think I'm wrong about stuff, that's fine. Give me your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and of course, I'll catch you later.